Hello, and welcome to cEDH Budget Brews. I know you shake your head at me every time because I screw this up, Sean. Tonight I'm joined by my dear friend and guest, crewmate, Jamaican dude. Say hi, Jamaican.
Hi.
And we're also joined by a friend of the show and whatever. I don't know. Whatever.
Freshly off the block apprentice from the Nexus.
Yeah, a friend of ours, Elementalwisperer, also known as Jake. Say hi, Jake.
Hi, everybody.
So we brought Jake on tonight because he's been playing cEDH for maybe about a month, 6 weeks, 2 months,
just over a month, I think, is fair.
And with that, it was a good time to maybe discuss some tips, tricks, experiences of as somebody who went from casual or non-competitive commander to competitive commander, and just kind of discuss that experience a little bit, because I don't know, in case you ain't noticed, that's kind of the theme of what I do around here.
Right.
So just to kind of get us started out, Jake, so what's your background in Magic? Like, how did you get into it?
Actually, it's interesting enough. In high school, I downloaded the M13 app when they put that out, or when Wizards put that out, and it was
there was an M13.
It was so interesting to me.
There was an M13 app.
Yeah. Back when M13 set dropped, they put out a game app. Yeah, where you could learn Magic on the app, and I was just really interested in the strategy and the gameplay of it, and so I kind of tried to save my money a little bit, and I actually bought my first booster box in M13, and from there I kind of was like building, the decks that everybody builds whenever they get in the 100, 200 card casual decks,
Right, the Battle of Wits deck.
Yeah, that has like 5 colors and no semblance of plan, just whatever card looks cool, and
no way to cast any of the spells in it.
Exactly. The mana base was horrendous, although whenever I was really building the decks, it was more what was that set? Dragon's Maze and that block.
Yeah,
so they had the guild gates, so it was a little bit better, but
yeah. Guild gates. I was thinking you got shocklands, but
I got a few, but I mean, you got all these common guild gates, so you're gonna find a lot of mana fixing, but I had no clue how to build a deck.
Lands that come into play tapped. Okay.
Rule number 1.
That is like rule 0 for me. That's my rule 0.
Yeah.
So you got in around core set 2013. So you've been playing about 8 years now, I guess, about that.
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
And most of that time, what did you play? Like, what was your preferred formats for the most part?
I normally stuck to standard. In the start, I started out with a life gain deck because I pulled that Ajani that I think it was Color of the Pride, like the 3-drop that had the crazy ult where you make X/2/2 cat creature tokens where it's your life total or whatever.
Yep.
And I have a wonderful story where I got to play in an FNM and I got to ult that card, and I had Call of the Pride and Rock Spaithmender in play, so I gained something like 6,000 and some odd life in standard, and so
and then went to time.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I stuck to standard for the most part. I think sorry.
No, go on.
I was gonna say, I think I didn't actually play any Commander or any other format until I don't know what year it was, but the Duretti deck came out, and I got the Duretti deck, and that was like my first Commander deck ever.
Okay.
First other format or whatever.
I remember that Bant deck. Wasn't that the one with Flusterstorm in it?
Oh no, Duretti, like the scrap font.
Mono Red.
Red, yeah.
I love that guy. I want to make him playable again in Command cEDH.
Playable.
Good old Stax deck or something.
Yeah. Slaver lock everybody.
I mean, it's just hard to keep a Planeswalker alive, but he was playable when Narset was playable.
That's true. I mean, Narset's playable.
Exactly. So.
Sean beat the crap out of me. What was it? Last night?
Strong terms. What the hell is a strong term? That was just some lucky flips. There were some lucky flips.
So
you got some really rough flips too. 4 lands. I think I've seen you flip 4 lands 2 times in a row, and that was cool.
Oh, those are rough. Those are rough flips, man.
Yeah.
So you got
into.
So you got your first Commander pre-con. And I think those are the 2015.
I think something like that. Yeah.
2014, 2015. So most of that time, I'm guessing you probably played. Did you keep playing standard and
I played standard. I played maybe 2 or 3 FNMs, but most of the time it was like I went to a tech college, and a lot of the people there clicked up, and there was a Magic click, there was a Yu-Gi-Oh click, and there was a Magic click, and I was kind of part of both of them for a while because I played Yu-Gi-Oh for the early part of my high school years. Those were the dark ages. And then I kind of switched up to Magic because I really like having the long-term strategy versus, you've got one turn and you have to set up a board or you lose. I really like being able to kind of think through my actions and think through the game turn by turn rather than just be one turn.
Right.
Even though I'm in cEDH now and you could just win in a turn, but
I mean, it's isn't it kind of funny?
It doesn't happen that often.
As often as people say, it doesn't.
Yeah. But it's kind of funny how things kind of get cyclical a little bit. So, all right. So you played a little Yu-Gi-Oh, played some casual Commander, played standard. So about a month and a half ago, it is about when I think you first started talking to me. And what kind of got you drawn towards cEDH?
So I've always been a competitive person. I did eventually get into a kind of competitive side of Magic. I would play higher end standard decks. When Pioneer became a format, I really got into Pioneer. I actually traded out most of my Commander collection to start up with Pioneer and get a lot of the staples. I really enjoyed that. I was winning most of my FNMs in Pioneer, so that was kind of nice. That was kind of scratching my my competitive itch. And once the virus came about, paper Pioneer kind of got ruined. It just kind of dissipated as a format.
Right. It was just starting to get off the ground too.
Yeah, and it was a pretty good format too. And they had just made good bands. Like they had gotten rid of all the combo centric decks. Not like gotten rid of, but they kind of took care of. They got rid of like 1 or 2 of them, and then the other one they just kind of slowed down a lot.
Yeah.
And then the virus hit, and then now you can barely find anybody playing paper Pioneer. And so I was like, well, I'm out of my competitive itch, and I'm struggling with my casual pod because my casual pod wants to play mid high to high tier deck, or not tier, but high power decks. And so we kind of had a little bit of a struggle of figuring out how to balance our decks and everything. So we're playing on the same level. And I actually, whenever I started talking to you, Tim, it was when my buddy was trying to get some tips on his deck on the Budget Brews Discord. And
what was his name?
I was like, it was Hambone.
Okay.
The one the Pramicon deck.
Yes.
And I had started talking to you about
was it
what
Winota?
Yeah, Winota. That
Yes.
That deck, that awesome deck that I still need to actually get proxied and play. And I just, whenever I was talking to you about it, I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, cEDH, you don't have to sit there and like think about anything when you're deck building. You don't have to worry, or you have to think, but like you don't have to think about, what power level are you playing against? You don't have, it takes that dynamic out of it. So it's very nice because you get to sit down with this unspoken agreement that you're bringing the best possible cards to the table and you're going to play them as best as you can.
Right.
So, it's not like you're, okay, well, I can't play that card because that's a little bit too much. It's, you get to kind of enjoy Magic to its fullest, in my opinion. Whenever you come to a cEDH table, if you're playing EDH, you get to enjoy it to its fullest because you get to play the best cards.
Yeah, and I do remember a lot of that conversation was kind of the dance between like you wanted to build Winota, but your friend didn't want you playing Stax. Yeah. But then like he built like an extra turn stack or something.
Yeah.
And that whole like power, I don't know, that whole like group dynamic power level dance can kind of get a little much. I know Sean, when me and him first met, we kind of, because didn't you play in a different play group and they were kind of having a similar issue?
Yeah, so when I started out, well, I was saying Magic, but Commander, I was playing on Skype. And we were, like, some people want to play high power, just like competitive decks, but we were playing without proxies because a lot of people were saying, oh, I'm not trying to play against your wallet, I'm trying to play against your skill, which was backwards because if you want to play against your skill, then you allow proxies. But that's a whole other argument. So we started out and I started out playing Alien and Eternal Pilgrim, and there was a power creep for a second, and then I built Tassiger.
I remember Tassiger.
Think it was Cameron's list. I don't know if it was Golden Control. I don't remember what it was, but it was a Scepter line with Tassiger anyway.
It was Seasons Past, because that's how long we've been playing, Sean.
Yeah, it's been a minute. So I was playing Season Past Tassiger, and then I was starting to win a lot of games, and people started to cry and moan, and then it became very toxic. Like, if I sit in a pub, people were like, oh, you're going to play Tassiger, and then people would leave the pub, or they said they want to play. So I left there. That was cool, guys, but I left there, and I came to play EDH. Now, when I came to play EDH, I was, I think I started playing Gerard. Then I met Tim, Scott, and some of the old school guys from the Nexus. And then they invited me over. Scuba Steve, I think, was the one that helped me got over. And because we used to play Omnath. Omnath is my, like, as pet deck can get.
Now, which Omnath was that?
Angry Jelly Bean.
Oh,
Red green.
Okay.
The good one.
Nice. Yeah, that was as my pet deck as I could get it pet. And I met Scuba Steve, and Steve had, don't know if you met Steve, but Steve never played with just regular cards. It either has to be foiled or altered. So his deck was always really, really pretty to look at.
Pretty.
We started there, then I came to the Nexus with the same Tassiger. And Tassiger did a live long because these guys were a little more aggressive and cutthroat. And Tassiger was more of a political build where you ask someone, activate Tassiger, can I get this counter spell back to counter this spell? It was as political as a game of Commander can get. These are third on the table. Can I get this spell back to kill the spell? So that was it. And I think everybody who came through the Nexus playing Tasigur literally stopped playing Tasigur because of it, because they just leaned on you for the interaction.
You just bled out so slow.
And when you just play a game where you know you're gonna lose, but you're gonna stay in there just to make sure that maybe there's a ray of hope. But yeah, and that's how I got into cEDH. I got into the whole arm race of my group got toxic because some people enjoy pub stomping.
Yeah.
Meaning they like to play a high power deck in their mid power pod to stroke their ego. I mean, it might sound mean that way, but a lot of people do. And that's how my journey on cEDH went.
Okay.
But I mean, it's kind of a similar story to yours in that respect, where you just started to get that, like, just that conflict between, like, who had, like certain people are okay with certain, like, style of decks in casual, and but yet you'll also notice kind of like the situation with the no stacks and extra turns, like, it was kind of convenient that somebody showed up with an extra turn stack right after a conversation about not playing Rule of Laws.
And then you get mad at that person because you're like, oh, I thought you were going to take advantage of this, and then you play a deck to beat their deck, and then they get mad because they agree. Because just stuff like that. Like, my two-hated strategy in Magic is mill. I despise mill. I don't like mill decks. And I do not like land destruction.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't like land destruction, Sean?
Okay, here we go.
You don't? Yet you're going to Cataclysm Sheldon Memory on a stream?
Listen, Sheldon deserved it.
Oh, so, anyway, sorry, Jake. No, go on. What were you going to say?
So I was actually going to say I had kind of a similar story that we haven't really talked about a bunch, Tim. That I told you that I did play a cEDH deck for a little bit. I didn't play in a cEDH pod. You know, I've never and I kind of like learned it a little bit, but I never had to think about it as much because it wasn't playing against cEDH decks. We did have this power struggle for a while. I think it was back in like 2017. I started out playing a Brago Stax deck.
Okay.
And that, I think that really scarred my play group. Because a lot of the Stax pieces were pretty cheap back then. Like, I think I got a Sphere of Resistance for like $5. You know, it wasn't like, you know, that because we have an anti-proxying policy, you know, all that stuff in our play group. And so, and so I played this Brago deck, and that wasn't even the cEDH deck. Like, it was a Brago Stax deck to get to my win condition of the Strionic Resonator into some kind of infinite. But it kind of progressed and made our play group kind of had that power creep of, you know, and stacking on. And eventually I ended up on, I don't remember whose deck it was, but it was a Cast Twin Animator.
I think that was Stamgy's old list.
Yeah, so I ended up on a Cast Twin Animator list with tapped lands in it.
Rule 0 broke it.
Yeah. If I would have known that back in the day, I think this would be like, they would have been like insane for my play group. I don't think they would have taken it as long as they did. But we ended up like de-escalating and talking about playing just fun decks, and over the years I think we've kind of stacked back up again. And whenever I ended up putting like a Rule of Law effect into play and having like 2 protection spells in my hand, I think that's where my play group was like, we can't do anything, you know. And so it ended up in a big thing, and I was like, well, you know, I can take this to the Nexus where I can play whatever I want to play, you know, and I don't have to worry about people's feelings You know,
No, you don't.
you're playing the
Well,
game to play the game,
you have to
not
play
play the
whatever you want
people.
as long as it's cEDH. But yeah, I get what you're
Yeah,
saying.
Right,
I
right,
mean,
right. Absolutely. You know.
I mean, is that word "fun" is what caused a lot of problems in Commander, because what's fun for me doesn't mean it's fun for you,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I want to have fun, but you don't agree with my fun, so.
So yeah. So and my story is basically the same as your guys's. I've got the big collection. Always have. Played Legacy. Dabbled in Vintage, Modern, all that. Played like RIW was my one of my LGSs to play Legacy at. So like I got beat up on by a bunch of pro players anytime I'd go there. And a lot of the guys I played Legacy with would like win a lot of like SCG Opens and do well in Grand Prix, like that kind of stuff. Like I was the scrub, and like I'm a decent player, and yeah, it's kind of the same thing. So like whenever I'd play Commander, even if I used to always have to follow a rule where like I would build a Commander deck and then take it apart and find cards that cost 2 CMC more for everything. So I would just increase the average CMC of every spell in my deck by 2. Like Source of Plowshares out, Ablation in. You know what I mean? As an example.
Ugh, Ablation instead of swords.
Well,
Seems like madness, but that's what you had to do.
But that's what I had to do to keep kind of,
I was only joking.
Yeah. But I get what you're saying. Like play Darksteel Igneous instead of like, Soul Ring or whatever. Not necessarily. Right. I still had Soul Ring. But so, okay. So I think we kind of touched on the fact that like you've really only been playing cEDH for about a month, kind of how you got into it.
Yeah.
So I did bring up the fact that, we kind of wanted to touch base about how it's kind of still fresh in your mind. So the next question I had written down was, what were some of the first resources that you used to help get you started, like kind of into cEDH? And I'm even necessarily talking kind of maybe before your friend showed you the Budget Brews Discord.
So I had whenever I had the Kess deck, obviously I had to find the list from somewhere, and I don't remember who maintained it or whatever it was, but there was a tier list on Tapped Out, and it was just this huge list of like tier 0, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. Yeah. I think is like
it's still floating
how it went. And, say what?
It's still floating around.
Okay, yeah, and so I read lists from that. I had watched a few cEDH games. I don't even remember where they were on, but for the most part, it was just kind of learning what the cards were, learning what the better cards were that you could play, and what kind of combos were being played during that time. But it was relatively on a small scale. Like I'm way bigger scale now looking at stuff. So
right, yeah. And then more recently, were you watching like a lot of cEDH content, or was it really more of just like your friend found the Budget Brews Discord, turned you onto it, and then we had a chat, and here we are?
That's the latter was more of what happened. I really wasn't even looking that much at cEDH. I wasn't even thinking about it, and then we had our talk, and I fell in love with the idea. I was like, this sounds great. It sounds fun. It sounds like something I can do,
sure.
Yeah.
All right. Sean, you want to take the next one?
Sure. So since you have played cEDH, what did you expect it to be going into it, and what do you think of it since you've experienced it?
Okay, so I'm gonna preface with you can't take any offense to this.
That's fine.
I thought that the whole cEDH community was like elitists that were just like, they had the mentality of like, you should know what you're doing when you come in here and you mess up, and it's like, why did you mess up? So I was kind of nervous that that I was going to be scrutinized whenever I came in, because I didn't know a whole bunch. I mean, I had the basic Magic fundamentals. I had played in a few like small tournaments, FNM and stuff like that before,
Mhm.
but I just, I didn't know how to mulligan in, a freaking at turbo ad nos deck. I didn't know what to look for. So I was kind of coming in expecting uh, that I was going to be greeted with, a bunch of people that were,
Bunch of pitchforks.
what's
Yeah.
that?
A bunch of pitchforks.
Yeah,
Pitchforks and torches.
exactly. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Like that's what's really gotten me on board with this community, is that it's so welcoming and nurturing, and they just, everybody, most people want you to succeed and learn how to play better. And they want to help you uh, reform the knowledge that you already have about the game into more fortified knowledge about the game and how to play better. And I was also a little bit apprehensive because I've played in a play group for so long that I couldn't proxy. Proxying was the devil. And here it's I didn't think that was the case. And then I saw all the stuff about proxies are not only okay, but they're expected, because obviously not everybody has $12,000 to spend on the best deck. So that was really nice as well. And of course, I'll speak to that over and over again throughout the time we're talking. Proxy for sure.
Well, but I mean, the thing to kind of point out is that your playgroup before you got into cEDH was adamantly anti-proxy.
Mm-hmm.
So in order for you to kind of get into a position where you would want to proxy, you kind of had to get softened up to the idea a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And like, let's say you had just walked in and you were like, oh, well, I want to build a Winota deck, and I want to build it with cards I own. And then I'm like, just proxy. Like, you would have just turned around and left, right? Kind of in that instance. Yeah.
And I mean, that was nice. That was nice because we had our talk. And actually before the Winota deck, it was a Dawnwaker Thrasios build with the cards that I owned. And we actually made that, and I fleshed out that deck, and that felt really good. Although I don't play it that much, it's nice that I was able to see that I had at least cards that I had played with before that I could put into a deck. But yeah.
I mean, then there's also something about just owning the real cards. I mean, just a little self-accomplishment, a pat on the back.
I love owning the real cards. Like, So, okay. All right. Sean, I'm going to ask you the same question. So, before you got into cEDH, kind of what was your opinion and your expectations of it versus after you had been in it for a while?
I think it was the opposite, because when I got into cEDH, I was playing competitive modern, and the guys in my play group in my area was very, very cutthroat. So when I got into cEDH, it was more, that was my relaxed area. It was kind of the opposite for me. It was where I can just relax and I don't have to play. But every play that I make doesn't have to be absolutely the best play to make. Like, I don't need to go through all the card pool just to make sure that I'm playing the card. So for me, cEDH was my relax point. When I got into cEDH, I liked the social aspect of it. That was my thing about it, because I already came from competitive, so it was like playing competitive while being social, and that was great about it. You could crack jokes, you could troll people, and you still had fun.
Yeah.
And the person across from you doesn't have to be monotone and talk all their plays out just to, try to intimidate you or something. So
Right, try
for
to like
me,
get in your head. Yeah.
to get in your head just to get that edge on you. So I mean, I enjoyed tournament grinding, but at the same time, it can be just very
Yeah,
stressful.
I got tired of doing
Yeah.
tournaments. I was done. So
And
all right.
I'll say that also on the talking part, being able to have that conversation and everything, and have that open line of communication with people, it's been super nice as well, because not only has the community welcomed me in, it also I've had a lot of contact with a lot of different people in the community that have helped me, to even play their deck, that they made. I get to. A lot of people are open to, hey, what would you do in this situation, or what are the basic lines of this deck that I need to know that some people miss.
Right.
And you're able to get that information because a lot of people are happy to do it.
Well, they're passionate about their decks that they curate.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's also just like a quick change of topic. Like, what I believe why a lot of there's so much, not really so much, but there can be hostility in Commander, because when you build a deck, to me, I feel like the deck is a part of yourself, it's an extension of yourself. So when you build a deck and then someone completely criticize your deck and saying it's absolutely garbage, you get defensive because I just poured a part of my soul into this deck. So when someone appreciates your deck, or you're playing one of Hire's deck and you ask him a question, he has like a feeling of, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but just a fulfillment, I guess.
Yeah,
about it. So when people normally start playing cEDH, they're normally like, I want to build my deck. And that's kind of why we have to, in the Nexus, we kind of have to have that apprentice, because people will try to come in with
all kinds of stuff.
All kinds of things. And like, I want this to be competitive. And I want to play this, and this is what I play at my LGS, and I beat everybody there, and blah, blah, blah. And that's not the point. You can't bring Krenko, my boss, to an Adnos table. You can do absolutely nothing.
Right.
And then you have a 3-1, and then you're wondering, what am I doing? Like, so it's just, I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah, and I've been able to kind of explain it to my friends. I've got two of my friends that kind of want to move towards cEDH as well, and play a few games here and there. And I talked to them about what I did here, and they were like, they really make you play a specific list, and I'm like, yeah, because there's a lot of reasons, but the reason that I see a lot of it, if it was me coming in and I didn't have to do that apprentice thing, is that you wouldn't be playing against the player, you'd be playing against the deck, because you can't really regulate how good of a deck the person brings in if they don't have a list of decks that they can bring, because it's just impossible. There's so many different variations and whatnot, and so that's why I was appreciative, because I mean, at first I was like, I kind of wanted to play this deck, but whenever I got to learning Blue Farm was the first deck I played, I really appreciated it because it prepared me for the format.
Right. And that's what we're trying to teach is just play established list so you can know what you're getting into before you go to what you would like to play. So on that note, as a new cEDH player, what would you tell other people who would want to come into the format, what they should avoid while getting into the format?
My number one thing is, I mentioned it before, don't freak out about proxying. Like you don't want to get stuck in the pitfall of playing a deck that you think is going to be cool. And I'll kind of touch on something later with this, but You don't want to come in and try to play a deck that you think is cool and go out and buy some expensive card for the deck, and then you get the deck together, and then you hate it, and then you feel obligated to stick with that deck because you've bought the expensive card.
Or cards.
What's that?
Or cards, plural.
Exactly. Like you go and you buy something like I don't know, Chains of Mephistopheles, because you were able to go get that for whatever reason and play Gitrog. You just don't like Gitrog. And it's pretty narrow as to the decks you get to play Chains of Mephistopheles in.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you kind of get locked into to Gitrog, and you kind of like burn yourself out on the format at that point
because you don't like Gitrog. Yeah.
Exactly. So I mean, go ahead.
No, go on.
My whole thing is that at my local Office Depot, it cost me $5 to make a color set of proxies that look good that you can cut out. And if you don't like to cut out, like you can go to MPC, and it cost me $35 for a 100-card deck, including shipping, to get a full made deck that looked great. I mean, I actually have one right here. They feel like regular cards. So I mean, there's no reason not to proxy. And before that, even just like run through a few test hands on Moxfield, try it out, and make sure that you kind of look at the deck that you're playing and try to understand the basics of it, the basic play the play patterns, the lines that you take, and to pretty much just kind of learn the deck a little bit, research it.
Right.
Read the primer.
Absolutely.
I'm so bad
about
that.
They're there for a reason.
I said I'm so bad about it. I'm horrible at reading primers.
And also I was going to talk about that on the Budget Brews Discord. You Tim, you made that channel for new players.
Yeah.
That
resources.
Kind of right, exactly. And there's a few things on there, and one of them really stuck with me because coming from casual, it's such a big change, and that's the social code that comes along with cEDH. Stuff like not king making, not spite playing, and stuff like that. It's that's not something that I ever thought about coming in. But if I had not looked at that resource and checked that video out, I definitely would have broken social code a few times just because I didn't know exactly what that looked like. So I definitely
I made that that's actually that channel is actually, well, besides my rambling documents that I put in there too. The videos are actually a playlist on the YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
That I made, which I can link the playlist in the description if I remember. But it is a playlist that is on our YouTube channel as well. Like all the videos are there.
Yeah, and so that's one of the pitfalls that I feel like I would have fallen into immediately. Is like I was playing a Turbo Nos deck and I get hit for 6. Why are you hitting me for 6 on turn 2? Come on now, like I didn't do anything to you. I'm gonna now I'm going to spite you for the rest of the game.
Right.
But in reality, it's because I'm playing Adnon.
Right.
That's the casual mindset versus the competitive mindset.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, we'll still play people here that will gripe about why you're attacking me for 1. Like, I mean, I will do it. I will do it all the time.
To me.
And that's why I don't play Adnons. I mean, I don't play it, but it's just like, well, anyways, let us not move off to that topic. I think on that, I think we hit a lot of things there.
Yeah, we did.
I think what I would like to, I think the resources that you hit on was like Moxfield and testing hands out. I think that's pretty, I didn't even think about that. I think a lot of people should definitely do that. So I was glad that you put that in there.
Yeah,
Just,
there's a playtesting option for a reason.
yeah, no, I just
Why do you,
and
Sean?
it got introduced to me recently when Tim was doing and it was like, let's play this. I was like, oh, I didn't even know you could do that on box. Like, I just build a deck and run through a few hands and see how it works. But no, that's great. You play a few hands on Moxfield
And you
it's
don't
a
even have to put it
versatile deck.
together.
Yeah, give that
Absolutely.
sour deck. No, and let's find something else. That's you
Yeah.
taught me something today. So on that
See?
aspect,
Well, and like to kind of touch on part of what you said about like not like picking the wrong deck and then kind of burning yourself out. Like a lot of those early conversations I have with people is much kind of like how I had those conversations with you. It's really like sussing out, like kind of just getting the information out of like what types of stuff do you normally play? What types of stuff do you normally like? Okay, what types of things do you say you want to play, but what types of things do you actually want to play are oftentimes not the same thing. Look at how you wanted to play Dawnwaker Blue Farm and you wanted to play Winota, but now you're just playing
consult.
yeah, Turbo Nuts. You know what I'm saying? Like those weren't those like they're like I mean the Dawnwaker
immediately switched from Blue Farm right after I got out of Apprentice to Kess mid range, which we talked about, and I played a few games with that. But then Kenrith came in, and I've been playing Kenrith Evolution ever since.
Right. So now
and I've lost 4 games with it and loved it. But I played a bunch of games with Blue Farm, and I think I was above a 50% win rate with Blue Farm, and I was enjoying. What's that?
Yeah, you weren't having fun while winning.
I was having fun, but it was exhausting because I was mulliganing towards hands that that were winning very, very, very quickly, and now I have a deck where I'm not like pressured to win very quickly. I can kind of interact a little bit and play towards the mid game, which was nice for me because I've always loved mid range decks. I played I don't know if y'all remember the standard of Green White Devotion. I think it was somewhere in the Fate Reforged block or something like that.
That was
where it was
my time. So Tim probably knows.
Yeah, you know what I played during Green White Devotion? I played Jeskai Control.
Yeah,
I'm the Callblade asshole who liked playing Callblade mirrors because we just had very little variance.
Little personal touch here. My name is Elemental Whisperer, and it's just a backwards misspelled version of Whisperwood Elemental. That's my literal favorite Magic card ever. I love that card from the time it was spoiled because of Green White Devotion and the value it generated and whatnot. So playing value decks has always been my thing. So now I get to play a value deck in cEDH, and it's like it's a competitive deck. It's not like just something I'm getting to play.
Kenrith Evolution is definitely a value deck. It's good. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So all right, let's go to the next question that we had kind of prepared. So you kind of discussed some stuff for people thinking about getting in as somebody who has just gotten into the format. Are there any kind of Sean, how did you phrase it with the last one? I wrote it down as pitfalls for the enfranchised player, the invested player, the vested portion of the cEDH community, the people who often get those questions asked to, so as somebody who went through that onboarding process recently, is there anything that you've experienced or observed being experienced from kind of other newer members that might be worth kind of discussing right now? Like while it's still fresh in your head. In terms
of like if like experienced players that like how they interact with the new players, or
like as the guy. Yeah. Kind of. Yeah, basically as the new guy interacting with the guy who's been around a while, like, is there any kind of experience you've had that like maybe I wouldn't say turned you off or anything like that, but just that like somebody who's like complacency breeds contempt, I guess, is the old saying, the old adage. That's probably not even a good way to put it, to be honest. But just basically, like, after you've been around a while, things kind of get routine. And as somebody who's
elitist players change about themselves to not be elitist.
So I got a little bit on that.
Yeah, you don't have to.
It's not a whole bunch, you know. Like it, for the most part, my experience has been really, really good.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that whenever experienced players are playing with new players, I've had an experience where, you know, someone got really, really mad about maybe one or two plays that I made, and for the most part made me feel pretty rough about it the rest of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, you know, whenever you're in the game, if the decision gets made, the decision gets made, and, you know, assault's going to happen, but like, let the game ride out, and then after the game say, hey, look, I feel like you should have done this because of this, you know, let's talk about it, let's have a discussion, rather than throughout the game saying, well, if this guy didn't do this, you know, the new guy, you know, wouldn't have messed this up, then we wouldn't have lost this way or whatever, you know. Like, we're all going to make mistakes, especially whenever we're new and we don't know what we're doing 100%. You know, we haven't had those experiences yet. We haven't, you know, we haven't had the counter spell in hand and killed the Thassa's Oracle after the demonic consultation because we thought it would fix the problem, you know. Not that's what I did, but I mean, I could see that happen.
Yeah. And I mean, and I mean, it happens because you get people who are more experienced that deal with people who are lesser experienced, and people who are lesser experienced don't always know that they're as inexperienced as they are. And that can cause conflict.
For those players, you would like to say, keep your salt under control. That is that is awesome.
Try to leave the I don't want to say leave the emotions out of it, because obviously, you know, you're going to have a little bit of emotion while you're playing, but, like, you know, cEDH is kind of in my opinion, is a thinking person's EDH game. You know, you've got to think about what's going on. And it's got to be more up here than in here, you know, because if it's in here, then we get to that whole thing that we all experience with our playgroups, you know, like that kind of toxicity. If you get your heart hurt about somebody countering your spell, like, it kind of takes away from the whole gameplay.
Right. Well, and I mean, part of that is just like learning how to, like, it's not to say that you can't get salty or pissed off or upset. It's just more of, like,
absolutely
learn how to leave it at the door, like, when the game's over, and then have an objective conversation about it.
Well, I will leave my salt at the table, good sir. That's how I play.
You leave it in a shaker. You got a little sprinkling bowl.
Why are you countering my Narset whenever there's an Orvar player about to go off? Come on.
Listen, dude, I was not correct. Not correct.
Look, you would have flipped an extra turn spell, and who knows what could happen. Because you went back.
Or he would have flipped 4 lands.
Well, no, he went back and he flipped the top 4 to see what he would have gotten.
Yeah,
and he was like, "Oh, there's an extra turn spell in there." I was like, "Yeah."
I will never let you. I'll never let you live down that path.
I do that in almost every game that I play. So I think we hit on a lot of things here. But what would you recommend? You didn't really watch a lot of content. You kind of just went with more of the research way. But what would you recommend tools people should use to get into cEDH?
So before, like, 2000, well, not 2000, let's say, like, before I found cEDH Budget Brews, I wasn't watching a lot of content, but I did watch a lot of content after I talked to Tim, after I got into the cEDH Nexus, and we talked about, like, cEDH at its core. I ended up watching a lot of Playing with Power. I watched a lot of cEDH Nexus games. I watched some cEDH TV and some of the 99, some spike feeders. But really, the core of what I was looking at when I was whenever I was looking at playing Blue Farm was I found Greedy Keeps.
Yep.
I found Greedy Keeps with Blue Farm on it, and I've been lucky enough to find a couple of the decks that I play. They all had Greedy Keeps, but I know not everybody can have that. But it's a nice resource because they have the person on that made the deck or spearheaded the deck, and they kind of tell you why they would or wouldn't keep a hand, and it just kind of it gives you that mindset of, okay, well, I should be looking for this in these hands, and
Right.
and that really helped me. Along with I watched a lot of cEDH Nexus before I knew I was playing Blue Farm and playing with Power, just kind of to see what the decks of the meta were and what a lot of the decks are that were being played, because you would see multiple videos with the same kind of decks in them.
Yeah.
If they were more popular, or they were considered on the higher end, and so you kind of got to know what you needed to look for, what you needed to counter. And I feel like that cEDH Nexus was very nice because you got a kind of mix of the meta and you got a mix of decks.
And the games were
you know,
only roughly edited just to kind of help trim out time.
right,
So you
right,
kind of
and
get to see a lot more of the decisions and stuff like.
yeah, and what it kind of looks like to have kind of a not a pause in the gameplay, but like a like you said, decision making point where people were stopping for a second, and that really does help for the realism side of things, because you can kind of see, okay, well, it's not these people aren't just like sitting there and playing the deck and like playing every single turn within
Right.
like a minute and a half. Like it's a lot of decision making and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And on the flip side of that, it was nice to have playing with Power. That's one of the other resources I recommend pretty highly for
Ryan's
for
great.
new folks, because like not only is it a little bit shorter normally, but because you can sit down and you can like watch it in basically what a TV episode would be, but also being able to have all of that commentary.
And see the hands at the beginning is nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you're watching an edited a video where they say, well, this is why they're doing this.
Right.
You know, and I mean, they kind of explain looking at other people's fields and seeing what's there. So how is everything interacting with this? You know, you can't. It's an example is you can't Oracle Consult because there's a Kenrith on board with 4 mana. So like if you Oracle Consult, then you end up losing because you have to draw the card. You know. That kind of stuff.
Was that a shot fired at Scott?
No, I actually wasn't even thinking about that.
Shot fired at Scott. I'll clip this and give it to us.
Told me all about all the times I was going to get to do that, and I've already gotten to do it once in 4 games, and so you know we'll see where it goes.
Kenny is a lot of the reason why I started packing Labman, because when Kenny's out, I play Labman, and then the Kenny player gets sad.
Yeah.
All right, that is awesome. Okay. So I think with that said, I think we hit all the points, Tim.
Yeah, I think we did.
Elemental was very informative, and hopefully people will listen, and when they watch this video, take one of his advice.
So, Elemental, obviously folks can play with you on the Nexus if they want. Do you have any other social media or anything like that where people can get a hold of you, or are you pretty much
So at the moment, I'm on one of those social media hiatuses, so I don't exist anywhere but Discord. But I think it's Elementalwisperer #2304. And you know, if anyone wants to ask questions, you know, directly, you know, send me a message. I'm around. I love to talk. I love to.
He
to
does
have
love to talk.
conversations. Yes, I do. Everybody knows that, and Hire's getting to know that right now. I told him today, I was like, if you want me to leave you alone, please let me know, because I talk forever, but it's just because I'm excited, you know?
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. You're not
I
like,
can match you, don't worry.
yeah, and you're not like, yeah, no, you're not. You're like, trust me, I respond to you every time. Like, you're not too much at all.
I enjoy talking, and I enjoy conversation, and I enjoy getting better. That's one of the things that that got me into cEDH was I love bettering myself every time that I get the chance to, and that's been a good outlet is being able to play the games and learn the lines and learn new things. So it's nice, and so I love talking to people, and if anybody wants to have a conversation, I'm here.
Reach out. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and because I know you're on the Budget Brews server, so if they can find you there, they can find you on the Nexus. I think you're in a couple other spots, like on a couple other Discords or whatnot. Yeah. So you're around. They can find you. Sean, you got any new projects you're working on, or?
I'm working on a new project, but we're not ready to release anything yet. Just trying to finalize some of the things. But you can find me on Nexus, Budget Brews, Commander Vault, I think. I'm on a lot of places.
Okay.
Social media doesn't really matter. Not popular there. Don't want to be popular there. So vote Tim for all questions related to deck list. And
Thanks.
That's my plug.
All right. Well, as always, you guys can find me on Discord at TimmyT1000. You can find me on Reddit at TimmyT1000. Twitter at TimmyT1000. Do you see a pattern here?
Wait. Is everything TimmyT1000?
Pretty much, yeah. Except my Twitch, which I screwed up.
What?
I think most things is a Shauna Miller or Jamaican dude. I think Jamaican dude is a lot, but yeah.
And if you guys like the show, please hit the like, share, subscribe. Hit the bell, the red button, all that stuff. If you want to help support us, you can go to patreon.com/cdh_budget_brews. Give us $1. It helps pay for the internets and equipment and improve the quality of the show.
There. Support the man so he can pay for the internet. There we go. Keep my lights on, people.
Helps pay for the website, all kinds of stuff. Keep the water running. That's right. So, Jake, Ashani, thanks for joining me, and you guys have a good night.
You as well, sir. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, you're welcome.